Hi everyone, my name is Javi, I can draw, and welcome to a new video. Now this week, someone asked me to do legs. Now I thought I knew legs. I thought legs was going to be easy. But the more I started doing some research on how to draw legs properly, the more I found that they're such complex machines. And they have so many muscles and bulges and bones and everything moves. And it's not as easy as it seems. Now I still went, I did a lot of research as I just said. And I found some interesting stuff that I wanted to share with you. This is what I found. So in order to find the best tutorials on how to draw legs, I started doing the research on first the overall shape of the leg, focusing not so much on muscles and everything else. We'll see that just in a second. But the first tutorial that I found is this one by Javi. That, it is pretty complete regarding how the shapes and rhythms and movements of the leg are when you want to draw them. Like when you are looking at the leg from the profile, how it looks, and from the front, and how the shapes define the leg and all of that. That was really good. So check it out. The next one focuses a little more on muscle, but it's still it doesn't go too much into the muscles, but it's just an overall look. And this one is by This one is by Medium. That's her name. Her actual, her actual DeviantArt is FOERDRANGD. I have no idea how to say that because I think that she's Swiss. And, but this tutorial is still very good for getting an overall idea of where the muscles are and just a bit of an introduction on the knee. Now, regarding the knee, I have this great video by Cynics. I don't have it, but it's up on the web on how to draw the knee and some considerations that you have to have on the shape and also on coloring the knee, which is, it's pretty useful. I like it a lot, so check it out. And now, last is going to be just two more tutorials. These two are by Nemonoa. One of them, you saw them on the how to draw the human figure video that I did 1,000 years ago. If you didn't see this video, you can still, you can go look at these tutorials. One of the tutorials is for the upper part of the leg and the other one is for the lower part of the leg. It focuses on muscles and shapes, and it's really well drawn and it's really well written and it's really useful. So I liked it a lot. Now, looking at all those muscles and tutorials and videos and everything made me think that the leg is such a complex thing that in order to understand it better, I needed to try to bring it down to the simplest shapes and volumes possible. And in order to do that, I had to use a lot of reference to get that right. But I kind of started understanding what it was all about. And I showed it on video. This is what happened on day 2. Great, so if the camera please would follow me to the computer screen. Here we are. The first thing that we're going to do is actually figure out the basic shapes. This is super obvious, and we did this one already in the how to draw the human figure videos, and basically it's 2 cylinders and a ball. So it's one cylinder for this part of the leg, 1 cylinder for this part of the leg, and a ball. The same thing applies to all of this. Cylinder, cylinder, cylinder. But there is something that I want you to notice regarding the cylinders that has to do a lot with how we usually draw legs. And this is actually where they are positioned. And they're not, you can see this already, but they are not vertically drawn. And I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about.
look at this distance. Look at this distance and then look at this distance. There's all of this between where the top leg part of the leg begins and where the lower part of the leg begins. Look at this distance and look at how this distance continues to where the foot begins. You can see this also here, here. You can see this distance here. This has to do with, well, you know, if you want to exaggerate this a bit more, it's like the leg of a dog, the back leg of a dog. It's kind of the same thing. So if you're looking at a full human figure, like in this one, you can see, like, look at these distances. You can see that the leg starts pretty much where the torso is, but then it goes real back. And that is not something that you usually think when you're thinking like, I have to draw legs and a man standing straight, and you think about everything straight, but it's not like that. On top of these simple cylinder shapes, there is something else that will help us get a better, it's like a small tip to get the legs right. This is a rule that animators use when designing characters that is called straight against the curve. I almost forgot about it. Straight against the curve. And it is like, well, let me show you an example. What it means is that, for example, look at the legs. I'm going to get rid of this. Look at the legs. You can see that this is straight and this is curved. And this is straight and this is curved. And the same thing here, straight, curve, and the same thing here. Curve, straight, and this is like curved, straight, kind of like that on the front. I don't know if it works like that, but still, like, if you get rid of the leg here, it's still, you get the feeling of rhythm of the leg. And that's what matters. So always when you're doing body shapes, try to think about straight against the curve, because, well, it always helps. It always helps. Now, on top of that, there are certain rhythms that are given that way because of how the muscles are shaped, and I'm going to show you here on the front. It's like super noticeable. You can actually see this line that comes from this line, like all of the dynamics of the leg are like going to the center, and you can see how the knee is kind of you know, like tilted just a bit, and then from this angle it just gets cut. So if we want to draw a super simple way of drawing legs, you get, well, you start with the cylinder, you come from the hip, you start to the cylinder, you do cylinder 1, you do the ball for the knee, you do cylinder 2, here we go, and then you think about curving this, and then going straight with this, curving this part, bringing this part, this curve, like straight curve, and then doing this, like this is the curvy part, and you can keep this a little bit straighter, so curvy, straight. You can do this, and if you want to have like an overall shape of the muscles, you can always keep in mind that this is like this. This helps. These lines really help. And now that we're talking about muscles, there is something else that I want to tell you about. Now, of this leg shape that you're looking at is muscles on top of bones. That's always like that. And in this particular case, for the upper part of the leg, the bones are really important. Now, let's just keep going with the knee like this ball. I'm going to do a video on knees tomorrow because it's something very difficult for me and I haven't quite learned it yet. But you need to know that, well, if the knee is going to be this shape, then there's going to be this big bone that is the femur, and it's going to come this way and connect like this. It has like kind of this shape, and it's going to connect to your hip bone that is kind of like this. I'm going like super simplified example of showing you this, but you have this shape, which are like these two bones that you can touch. If you like touch your hip and where your leg begins, you can touch the femur and you can touch your hip bone. You can see that So this is attached like this, but these two are super important because when you're trying to understand the forms that shape the muscles of the leg, there is something that I want to show you. And that is, and I'm going to draw muscles on green, that is, there's going to be two, from the front there's going to be two muscle groups that are very important. The first one is underneath the other one, and it comes from the knee. If you need to get an idea of how it goes, it comes from the knee to the hip bone, and it connects like this. It is something like this. It comes from the knee, and it goes all the way here around, like the inner part of your leg. I don't know what the name in English is, I forgot. I probably by the time I turn off the camera I will remember. But then there is the other one, the top one, let's just choose this color, that comes from this side, and it's going to connect to this part. See now, this, if I just erase this part, and if I kind of imply the shape of the knee here, I get rid of this, and you have the biggest two volumes that comprise the upper part of the leg. Like you have this volume here. So basically they are crossing each other. One goes this way and the other one goes this way. Now regarding the muscles of the rest of the leg, well, it gets a little bit simpler because, well, let's say that you just got the knee here. Now this is like one of the big muscle that I was talking about here that is attached to this part. Now the back part is just this one big muscle group. And then comes the butt, but I'm going to do a separate video on the butt. So here is just going to be this one big mass. And on the lower part of your leg, well, it's pretty much the same. There's going to be like this big mass. And then there's going to be a tiny muscle here that comes this way. But it's not really like super relevant. You can see that is this ball like from behind. You see this ball here. And from the front, you have a muscle that comes this way. But that particular muscle is like, I don't know. I don't draw it much. Maybe I should start doing it. But, well, if we have to do like a really quick recap, I think we can do like the cylinders first, then straight against the curve, then those dynamic diagonal shapes for rhythm, and then we can start focusing on the two muscle groups for the upper part of the leg, and the rest of the leg is like, well, it's pretty simple.
Now day 3, that was the biggest challenge, because drawing knees is never ever easy, and depending on the position of the leg and what the leg is doing, it always looks different, and it's all like moving parts that place on top of each other, and on top of that you have to consider what the muscles are doing, so if you're going to be like bulgy or not. And well, it seems very complicated, but on the most basic level, it's really easy to understand. And I kinda understood it, and well, this is day 3.
So in order to understand how to draw knees, well, I had to take my pants off. Those are my pants. I don't know if you can see them. I'm not wearing them. But I'm going to show you why, because I kinda needed to feel my knee to understand better what was happening. But let's go to the computer first. So, what I did here is I took the Gaian underwear from the last video and I did some simple bone structure on the leg, because in order to understand how to draw knees, well, you have to kind of understand the bone structure. Now here's the thing about the bone structure of the knee. It's actually pretty simple. It's just 3 bones. The first one is going to be the femur that is here, and then there's going to be the kneecap and then there's going to be this bone that I can't remember the name, but it's there. There's actually there's another bone on the leg. That is a bone that goes like from, that goes from behind here, that goes like this on this part, but it is not relevant to the structure of the knee, so I'm not going to pay attention to it today. Now, the reason why I'm not wearing any bands and why I was touching my leg is because I see this, and the first thing I thought, is that I thought that the weird structure, like, you know, when you think about a knee, in the most abstract way, you think about this thing like this, and then this bulky thing here, and then you just surround it, and then it's like, well, that's kind of the knee. Now, I thought that this bulk here was actually the beginning of this bone here, but the truth is that it isn't. What it is that there is a long tendon going through your kneecap, on top of your kneecap. Now when you have your leg like folded like this, it goes all the way like this. I'm using my arm as an example, but you know what I mean, right? Now when you stretch it, all that long tendon gets kind of compressed below the kneecap. That was what I was touching when I needed to get my pants off, and because I like it, and because I'm at my house. And so when you're drawing knees, well, let me show you some example here. So this is going to be one of the big shapes, and then here is going to be all that tendon that gets together because it is not stretched. So from there, you can actually use, you can use this. The thing about drawing the knee and that part of the leg is that actually the femur is really hard to touch. You can touch it if the leg is folded. I mean, no, wait, you can touch it, but it's not important to the shape of the knee because it's just this volume here, but it doesn't interfere with this at all. So for example, here we have one example. Like, I'm about to take this off. See what I mean? This is kind of how the knee goes. And here is like the bone. This bone here is here. You can actually touch it. But this part here is not actually part of the bone. It is squishy. So for example, here you're drawing a knee and you do just the same. You draw the kneecap, and you do the squishy thingy part. Then you focus on this bone, and here you can touch the femur, but you can touch only if you kind of press. And because this part tends to be so muscular, it's not the most important volume. Like you do this, and if you take this off, see, like nobody draws this part of the femur. Usually what you draw is actually something kind of like this. That's pretty much how you do it because it's not something that pops out. So you don't have this great need of drawing it. And, like, you can still do this bone from below, but the other one is not really necessary. And here from the side, well, this is easier because it's like this. And well, pretty much the rest of the leg. You can do this. You can play a little bit with this volume here, but it doesn't have to be like super prominent because it shows. You don't really notice those bones a lot. Let me see my leg. No, it's pretty soft. It's pretty soft, and it's not. I have a very muscular leg, but even though you can touch it, the shapes are pretty soft and well-rounded. Now, the most important thing I want to show you about the knees, and all of these that I'm showing you, I just learned like an hour ago watching the same tutorials that I recommended, and then just started practicing to see what I could figure out. And well, the thing about I have this amazing series of photographs of someone running, so I can get a good grasp of how the leg moves and how the knee works. Now, the thing about the knee is that the kneecap is simply a moving part. It's not attached to anything. It is covered by that tension I mentioned earlier, but it is actually moving constantly as you move your leg. In this particular case, well, let me show you this picture. The man is wearing a thong. I hope that you're not uncomfortable with that. I don't care. So for example, we have these two legs. One is folded, the one is almost stretched. Now in this particular case, if we are going to draw the bone structure of this, it's going to be like this bone here, the femur here, and then the kneecap. You can see that the kneecap is here, is just like kind of loose. And since the tendon, this tendon that goes all the way through this, is actually pretty much stretched, you have this volume and then you have this volume here. And that's it. The knee is not actually touching any other bone. Why do I mention this? Because in the other leg, the one that is almost stretched, here you have the femur, and here you have the tibia, that's the name, and and the kneecap in this part, when the leg is stretched, is on top of the femur. That is why when you're looking at a standing leg from the front, you don't see anything that has to do with the volumes of the femur. You see some of these volumes, but you don't see any of these volumes. So this is a moving part. When it's stretched, it is on top of the femur, and when it's folded, it is by itself. Let me see if I have any leg that is like just a bit no, not this one, not this one. Kind of like this one. This is what I was looking for. Like in this particular case, you can even see it through the light that the kneecap is going to be like kind of moving. Like as the femur folds, the kneecap just like stays in its place. So if this is going to be the femur and this is going to be the kneecap, as the femur moves, it's like this, it stays in its place. It doesn't follow the femur. The femur moves and the kneecap stays. It doesn't mean that it stays like attached to the tibia, because it also moves from that as the leg folds, but it doesn't move with any of both bones. But as the leg gets straighter, it kind of goes on top of the femur and adapts, and it protrudes just a little bit more. So if we had to draw this, let me just a second. So if we had to draw this, here we go. Sorry. See, well, I have the picture as a reference for standard conditioning knee. But see, here it is. Here it is. Here's this bone, and then the rest of the leg. You see nothing of the femur. And here, the knee, it protrudes just a little bit more. And here comes one bone, and you see nothing of the femur. You understand what I'm talking about, right? Now what I want to show you here is something else. And it's from the front. That is like the most complicated way of drawing the knee. Now, from the front, let me see, I'm going to try this myself. So we will have the femur that comes like this way. It's not so exaggerated, but kinda. We will have this bone coming this way. And we will have, you can already tell by the picture itself, but we will have the kneecap like this, right? So let me see, here for example, well, you can really notice the kneecap on this one, but you know that it's like the femur coming this way, there's this volume, and the tibia coming this way. In this particular case, like this picture is super blurry, but it was the best I could find. So the tibia comes here, kneecap comes here, and this thing comes here, like this. So now if I just need the bone structure, let's try this. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's try this. So, wait, I'm doing it on the wrong layer. So here would come the knee. Here's like this bulky, greasy thing. Here's this. Here's like how the leg would go. It is something like this. Does it look like a regular leg to you? And here we have, like in this example, here we have this, and this is stretched because it is just bending here. So it would be something like this. I'm trying to figure this out as I go, okay? And this one would be also like, you could see this, you could see here, you could just kind of feel the bone. And then this would be kind of like this, I guess. Now, how does this look? It looks pretty okay. I think that, well, as far as knee goes, I think it's a pretty, they're pretty cool knees. I don't know if there's such a thing as a cool knee. And in comparison to the original photo, is not that bad. It is a really curious exercise to do what I just did because, well, you're never going to get it right because I was just kind of winging it. But look at these legs. They look like normal knees, don't they?
Now, day 4. Well, this was going to be easy, no? Like butts. What are butts? Like this bulgy, big muscle. It shouldn't be that hard. But the more I started drawing it, the more I understood that it was such a complex piece of all the other muscles on the back of your leg. And in order to get that right, I needed to understand that first. So that's what I tried to do. I still have to practice a lot of butts a lot more. But this is what happened on day 4.
So, here what I have is 2 different persons with 2 very tiny butts, but they are going to help me on teaching you how to draw the butt muscles of the leg. So first, let's focus on that. Now, I told you before that the back of the legs were actually pretty simple because, well, you know, if you're going to be with overall shapes, there's going to be like this big bulge here, and there's going to be like this big bulge here, and that's pretty much it regarding muscles. But now I want to get into something just a little bit more complex, especially because the hardest part to get off the leg is not actually the muscles, but it is this tiny thing here. Like, what the hell is that? And what it is actually is just a bunch of tendons, because the muscle structure of the back of the leg comes like this. You have, if you start from the bottom up, you have all these tendons that are attached to this part. All of this is just one big massive tendon. The tendons are the stretchy part that is attached to the muscles. That is what allows, actually, when the muscle compresses, it pulls from the tendons that moves the different part of your bodies. Basically like pulleys. So you have this big tendon here that comes to this 2 muscles here that, well, in Spanish, which is called them the twins, I don't know the name in English, but it doesn't matter. So these have these 2 bulges here that if you see like really muscular men, you can tell the difference between the 2 bulges, and if you watch like my legs, you barely see any bulges. But they finish here, they come this way, and now from the top and from below the butt, I'm going to draw this line here. You have like 2 different muscle groups that kind of wrap around the leg just below the knee. So they come this way here. And these are the muscles that don't actually allow you to just simply see the femur on the zone of the knee. Then I'm talking about what I was telling you on the previous section about drawing the knee. So you have these two that come this way, and then you have another one that just kind of the same. It comes this way. And this is, well, that's pretty much it. These are the muscles that shape the back of the leg. Now, actually, there are on the top part of the leg, there are actually a lot of tiny muscles that actually form these two masses that I just showed you. It's a lot more complex. I don't really know it. And when it comes to drawing the back of the leg, you're not really going to use it. Now, this bulge here is actually the abductor, the one that comes from the front of the leg. And this one here is actually, well, now that I'm going to come here, is actually just this muscle that belongs to the big frontal mass that I was talking to you previously when I showed you the front of the leg. So now that you see this, you can tell that you can, well, pretty much see what this mass is all of these tendons of all of these muscles coming together. And yes, it gets just a little bit bulgy. It's no more bulgy than these muscles when they're being used. Now, regarding that, I believe that it's super important that we emphasize what these muscles do actually, because these muscles, what they do is that they pull your heel back. Like, if this is your foot, what those muscles do is they just pull them like this, like when you need to jump or something like that. Those are the muscles. Or when you need to really push and you're like, you ever seen rugby players? Rugby players have these really big muscles. Oh, the calves, that's the name of the muscle. They have these really big calves because when they have to do the scrum, they're using all of that force because they're like on the tip of their foot and just pushing. And that's what this muscle group does. And this muscle group, well, this is actually the muscle group that bends your knee. It is actually called some sort of, well, biceps, because this is what it actually does. If this is going to be your leg, like this is your foot, and this is going to be your leg, like your elbow would be your knee, this muscle, the bicep, would be that muscle on the top back, and that's exactly what it does. It's pretty neat, right? So now, if we have to draw those muscles here on perspective, you would have, well, it's pretty simple. You would have these things here, like you would have the calves here. Actually, there's another muscle here that gets just right here that is sometimes visible when you're running. And then you have like these muscles here. You just come this way. They get attached like this. And well, here we come the knee. Remember, we've seen the knee already. And actually there comes like this really big tendon here that kind of gets attached to all of the muscles on the butt that I'm going to explain you right now. And there's also just some muscle here that I really kind of don't remember or know, so, but well, that doesn't matter. But these muscles that we are focusing in just come this way. This is just tendon. I am amazed. I just found this out today. Just before I do these videos, I do all this research, like just an hour before, because I'm trying to learn myself, and I try to do it so I can explain it to you better. But sometimes I don't know everything. I'm not an expert at this. I'm just learning like you. So, well, the calf is like here. It's this thing here. So that's pretty much it for the leg. Now, let's focus on what we came here for. The butt. Now, actually the butt is comprised by a lot of different muscles. I'm going to leave this here. And the thing about the butt is that, well, since I'm focusing on the movement that those muscles were doing, if we're going to draw the butt, the butt gets attached to a tendon that is just in this particular zone, and then gets attached to this tendon here that I was showing you before, it kind of has this shape, and that is the gluteus maximus. There's a gluteus maximus, a medius, and a minimum. The medius, you kind of see it here sometimes, but they're all below the gluteus maximus. That is the one that you see, and that is what we usually call the butt. And if I had to draw the fibers that make this butt, they would come this way, like this. This means that it compresses this way. It compresses towards this. So whenever your leg is, well, just a bit stretched, and you need to bring it, like, you know that exercise that I'm talking about, the one that a lot of women do at the gym to have a great butt. They're just with their leg extended and they're just pulling. You know what I mean, right? Can you see this? Well, that's the exercise that you do. It's actually you bring this all this way. So the butt compresses this way. And well, the reason why we have actually big butts, even though even the smallest butt is a big butt, is that it is one of the muscles that helps us actually stand straight. You will see that, like, if you look at a photo of, I don't know, like different monkeys, the monkeys, since they're not standing straight, they don't have actually big butts, except for like baboons that have really big butts. I don't even know what I'm saying. They don't stand straight. I don't know. I know that it's actually one of the muscles that helps us like stand straight and place the hip where it is. But well, there are monkeys that with big butts. I don't know. Now, I want to focus on something else, and please, stop talking about monkey butts that I clearly don't know nothing about. And I want to focus on how well the butt gets shaped when it's moving. Now, this is like super easy. Now let's draw this, cube-shaped thing that is going to be a hip. Now this is going to be the middle of the hip. Now this is where always when I'm trying to understand where to place the leg, I draw on the square, on the cube that would come to be the hip. I draw some kind of underwear, and that is like great, way of trying to place where the leg would begin, like this. So now, let's say like someone is just like walking, I guess. So this person is walking here. This is from the back of the person. And if they're walking, like if the leg is going forward, the butt gets stretched. And since it gets stretched, it kind of blends with this shape, the shape of the back of the leg. I'm going to start deleting some details so you can see better. And it kind of goes like this. This is like a stretched butt. But on the other leg, the one that is pulling up, and that is also pulling, like bringing the leg to the back this way, there's going to be like this muscle is going to be just a bit bigger. And the butt, since it's such a big volume, it actually gets compressed. I'm exaggerating this a lot. But here the butt is stretched and here it gets compressed. Like this is the volume of the butt. And in this particular case, the volume of the butt is just like, is not so concise, like pressed. So if you get to like continue this body shape, which is something that I don't usually do, not from this angle, like you will have like this. So depending on where the leg is placed, depending on the shape of the butt. Now here's the thing. Usually when you think about drawing butts, you're thinking about female butts, and they're not, well, there are muscular female butts, but they're usually just round and like soft in a way, and that is because actually, well, there's a lot of muscle, but there's also a lot of fat, and that's what makes it so like so soft in a way. But for example, and well, I'm not really good at drawing butts myself, but we're going to try anyway. So drawing female butts, I have here a female butt. Like I'm going to draw like 3 little hips. Let's see. Like let's do a small, a medium, and a huge. And yeah, I don't know how this is going to look. So let's go with a medium butt. I'm going to put this just a little bit of an angle. So a really small butt is like a butt that you don't really notice. This is usually with girls with really skinny legs, like not a lot of muscle and not a lot of fat. So it's kind of like this, you know, it's a really small shape. You totally understand what I'm doing, right? So this is like a simple soft butt. We're going to exaggerate here, like which is like it's just a butt. And then if we're going to do just a medium regular butt, I don't really know what I'm doing here. We're going to come like the leg is going to come this way, and the other one is going to come this way. So this butt is going to be just a little bit more pressed. Now the thing is that when it starts to have just a little bit more fat than muscle, the places where the fat accumulates are like in this part of the leg, and then of course there's the butt. But if you're going to draw like big, the bigger the butt you're going to draw, the more you have to start also widening this part of the leg. So this is more like, let me check. They're like the most awful butts. Like that butt is horrible. This butt is not so wrong. Alright, we're going to put like the bikini here. This one is, well, it's too skinny of a butt. And now if we're going to draw like really huge butts, which is something that I've never particularly done because I don't know, I never had the chance, I guess. Like, well, if this is going to be the bone, there's going to be a lot of fat accumulated here and here. So I'm guessing that it would be something like this. Like this part gets really wide. And this part, let me check. I don't really know what I'm doing, but this part, like this volume is here, this volume is here. But it does look like a bigger, fatter butt, doesn't it? I had to correct it a bit. I'm not a super expert on drawing butts. Maybe that's why you came. If that is so, I'm sorry. But the theory is here, and well, it actually looks pretty okay. It's not, it could be worse. But always when I'm doing these videos, I always get nervous and the drawings are not as good as I would like them to be. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, I try to draw a butt again, and it's a lot better because I had a lot of practice like right here on the video. It's always like that. But those 3 butts are 3 identifiable butts that you could see on like a beach, right?
So you see that you just saw a lot of practice that I did and a lot of research and a lot of using reference and trying to understand how the leg works, and it still looks like I'm just getting to the surface of it. Now you think of legs and you know, it's like at the beginning you think like, well, it's just 2 cylinders and a ball in the middle for the knee, and then you go from that. but it's nothing like that at all. I still have a long way to go, and if you're doing this with me, you know that, well, we still have a lot of practice to do. But this is just still a beginning and an introduction. Hopefully in the coming weeks, or just maybe later, I'll approach more complex things regarding the leg. You know, once I feel more comfortable with this I'm doing, but well, at least I can cross like the basics of the leg off my list. So that's it for this week. My name is Javi, I can draw. I really hope that you enjoy this video. Like, subscribe and all of that. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.